This is your 420 Radio News for Tuesday, February 11th, 2014, brought to you by the National Cannabis Coalition. I'm Russ Belville. Only the rich will be able to open a medical marijuana business in Illinois. Regulators drawing up proposed rules for the new medical marijuana program have instituted enormous startup costs for dispensaries and cultivation centers. To sell pot, a business will have to show $400,000 in reserve assets and shell out a $5,000 non-refundable application fee on top of a $30,000 yearly permit fee. To grow cannabis, it's $250,000 in reserve, a $25,000 non-refundable application fee, and a $200,000 annual permit. The law establishes 22 grow centers and 60 dispensaries, with 13 in Chicago, 11 in Cook County, and 3 or fewer in the remainder of the state. As for the patients in the program, they get saddled with an annual $150 registration fee, fingerprinting, and a background check for a photo identification card. And, quote, registered qualifying patients and designated caregivers are not eligible for a firearm owner's identification card or a firearm concealed carry license, end quote. Observers in Massachusetts are questioning the success of a group led by former U.S. Congressman William Delahunt in securing 3 of the 35 coveted Massachusetts medical marijuana licenses. On December 31st, Cheryl Bartlett, the state public health commissioner, indicated on a conflict of interest disclosure form that she would be selecting the license winners. 2 weeks later, Bartlett amended her statement by declaring her new deputy would be making the decisions. A month later, Delahunt's group was the only applicant to secure 3 licenses of the 20 licenses issued. Now, the Boston Globe has discovered that Bartlett held political fundraisers for Delahunt in 2005 and 2006, a fact Bartlett never disclosed as her office began reviewing applications last summer. A department spokesperson said Bartlett had no role in determining the winners of the licenses, and the delegation of authority to the deputy occurred a week before the selection committee made their recommendations. Oregon's Senate Judiciary Committee held a hearing this morning concerning a bill granting the power to cities and counties to ban medical marijuana dispensaries. Senate Bill 1531, which is backed by the Association of Oregon Counties and the League of Oregon Cities, faces a potential legal challenge. Bill Taylor, the committee's legal counsel, believes that the state law gives only the Oregon Health Authority the power to regulate grow sites and dispensaries. Senator Floyd Przansky, a longtime advocate for medical marijuana, asked, quote, how can any local subdivision take it upon themselves to say they are not going to allow a particular medicine, whatever that medicine is, to be available to their community for patients that doctors have signed off on, end quote. Yesterday, law enforcement officials from Washington County, where corporations like Nike and Tektronix are headquartered, offered support for the bill, claiming dispensaries would lead to, quote, criminal activity, loitering, increased traffic, noise, litter, and a loss of trade, end quote. Officials in Colorado can't point to any increases in stone driving since marijuana legalization was voted into the state's constitution. Part of the problem is that until January, police and courts hadn't tracked DUI data by type of drug involved. The state toxicology lab had reported an increase in marijuana-positive samples, but then ceased drug and alcohol testing in July when a scandal revealed a supervisor was biased in favor of prosecutors. The 2 labs that have picked up the slack can't compare their last year's data to their new increased workloads. While nationwide incidence of cannabis in fatality drivers' bloodstreams has tripled since 1999, researchers conclude that's just a measure of marijuana's increasing popularity, since blood tests can reveal marijuana use long after impairment fades. Colorado hasn't seen an increase in impaired driving stops or driving fatalities since legalization. Alcohol still remains by far the greatest impaired driving danger, as marijuana was cited in less than 1 in 23 post-conviction drug and alcohol evaluations. On Monday, rising GOP star Florida Senator Marco Rubio was asked by the National Journal if he had ever smoked pot. Rubio declined to answer, saying, quote, if I tell you that I haven't, you won't believe me. If I tell you that I did, then kids will look up to me and say, well, I can smoke marijuana because look how he made it, end quote. At this point, it's irrelevant, end quote. It's curious how kids wouldn't look up to, say, Barack Obama, Bill Gates, Michael Phelps, Richard Branson, or Rihanna, successful people who've admitted past marijuana use, rather than a GOP senator from Florida with a penchant for dry mouth. It's also odd he considers his past use irrelevant when his state will be voting on medical marijuana this November. This has been your 420 Radio News for Tuesday, February 11th, 2014. I'm Russ Belville. Transcripts of 420 Radio News are available exclusively at the National Cannabis Coalition. Visit ncc420.com for downloads. When we come back, we'll go behind the headlines and take a look at how the issue of marijuana legalization is affecting gubernatorial races across the country. You're listening to The Russ Belville Show on 420radio.org. We'll be right back.